first contest season, I started at 210 pounds. I ended up at 180 pounds with more fat to lose, but I just ran out of time and, to be perfectly honest, mental capacity. The following year, I hired a coach, and because of the help of this coach, I was able to achieve elite level conditioning, especially for the time. But same error, I went from 200 pounds to 160 pounds. So I got in shape, but it was very, very hard to recover from. So the issue here was that I enjoyed that off-season fighting weight of sorts, but that's not necessarily where I wanted to start a contest prep. And that is why, especially if you are an advanced bodybuilder, which means that, hey, you're probably putting in a good chunk of work in the gym because that's what got you the level of muscle mass that you do have on you, that you're going to have to expose your body to less in a way over the course of a contest prep, because again, those adaptations are pretty high level at this point. So what I did for my third year in 2011, I followed the model that I will go over in more detail later on, and that is basically I went from my off-season fighting weight somewhere in the 190s down to sub 180, held it there for a minute, and that's where I started my contest prep. The difference was just, it was very clear, both in regards to the final product. I looked a lot less beat up, kept more muscle, and not only that, but at the end of that contest season, I was able to recover much quicker than that time I lost 40 pounds. Finally, my most recent contest prep, this is where we combined all things positioning, and what I ended up doing is I started my contest prep tighter than ever, basically somewhere around 7 to 8% above my contest weight, and I was able to not only stay healthier because I started tighter, and to be honest, at this point, those habits were not the contest prep habits, the meticulous things that we have earned along the way in regards to just how we live our everyday life. They weren't as taxing to me, just very second nature, and I used those things to my advantage, which lended to a much better starting point. Combining that with the recovery process, which we will go over in a later chapter, it allowed me to not only stay healthier throughout the contest prep, but it was probably the quickest recovery on the other side, where essentially a month later, and I'd even say 2 weeks later, I basically felt exactly the way I felt when I started that contest prep. So the more advanced you are, yes, you're going to have much more development in regards to muscle mass, but also in regards to just your everyday skills and your habits. They're going to be so far ahead of maybe where you started when you did initially start competing, that it is best to take advantage of those things and allow for us to start at a much tighter position. So one of the benefits from having less contrast between your off-season and your on-season is going to be, firstly, as a advanced bodybuilder, you're going to be able to pick on a little bit more on like what's working and what isn't, and that's because you're not fighting through a layer of body fat to see what is actually going on there. So you will be able to catch on to trends a little bit faster, and since more often than not, we're probably running on a little bit more limited time in between off seasons, this is going to be of great use to you, because again, at the end, while performance does hint at what's working well and what isn't, the bottom line is going to be your physique, and is it heading in the right general direction, along with just things being more transparent from a physique perspective. Just less swinging up and down is going to be more beneficial just systematically, right? Since you're not, moving up and down that spectrum of body weights nearly as assertively, you're going to be able to compete on a much more frequent basis if that is the way you want to pace your career at this stage. And just simply by staying tighter, again, you will see less contrast in regards to your behaviors, how you live your life in general as an advanced bodybuilder. So it's not going to feel as much as like your world is flipping upside down because you are starting a contest prep. Because for the most part, things will look pretty similar. Portion size will probably just get smaller. You're probably weighing in a bit more frequently. But generally speaking, although these are your habits, because there's less change in them from off season to on season, what you will see is that it's mentally a whole lot less taxing. And then you combine that with the fact that we are allowing ourselves to experience a caloric intake post-show that is, again, very similar to perhaps the surpluses that we were using when we were fresh out the box new. You will see that, and you will be able to get back to a position where you're both psychologically and physiologically ready to start gaining again. So again, we master the art of having a system that is less tampering to you as a whole by staying tighter as an advanced bodybuilder. And then when we master the recovery end of it with again, more robust surpluses that almost seem out of place given how advanced your physique is and how what your muscle gaining potential might look like at this point, it's going to make the swing in either direction a lot more efficient and your time a lot more productive on both ends.